The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Best Practices and Lessons Learned for Successful Digital Commerce Implementations. We will wait for 2 more minutes and we will start this broadcast after that. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is a joint webinar by Accrete Solutions and Sana Commerce. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. We will bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions at the end. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to you following the presentation for your own purpose or to share with others. Now, I would like to introduce today's presenters. Ashish Saxena, he is Vice President SAP Solutions at Accrete. And Don Martin, he is Channel Sales Manager, Sana Commerce. And Stefan, he is a Product Owner at Sana Commerce. I would request our presenters to share the brief about their work and expertise. So let's start it with Ashish. Ashish.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Ashish Saxena. I'm Vice President at Accrete Solutions, and I'm responsible for SAP and commerce projects. I worked in the SAP space and the e-commerce space for the last 25 years, and then multiple global rollout across the order to cash and service to cash value chains. Don?
Hey, Ashish, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for joining. Don Martin, Channel Sales Manager here with Sana Commerce. I have sort of a split duties and split roles where I work with SAP partners like Accrete Solutions, working on client and customer engagements, and also I'm able to work with our potential customers going through the solution overview of our product, the requirements gathering, and moving projects going to live. So I've got about 10 years or so of e-commerce experience and specifically ERP integrated e-commerce platforms. Stefan?
Hi everyone, my name is Stefan Huizer. I'm the product owner of Sana's e-commerce connector for SAP ECC and S4HANA. I started working for Sana about a year ago. Before I worked for an internet and telecom service provider, and back then I was also involved in the implementation of a new ERP. So I already had lots of experience with ERPs. Together with my development team, we are responsible for developing the Sana add-on, which is the connection in between the SAP ERP and the web stores. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We will start this webinar with a short poll. So here we have poll questions. After the presentation, in a follow-up email, we will share the results with all the attendees as well. So let's start with our first poll question. Here we go with our second poll question. And here we have last one. Thank you. Now I will hand over to Ashish to start today's presentation. Ashish.
Hi. So we're going to talk about digital transformation and how e-commerce and SAP are key components of digital transformations. So first of all, I would like to define digital transformation. So what is digital transformation? There are many digital transformations definitions out there, but the one which I like most is defined as a radical rethinking of how an organization uses digital technology and processes to meet changing customer requirements. Basically, how can you reimagine your business and your business processes so that you can delight your customers? So some of the key objectives of a digital transformation are, like you have customer journeys. You want to transform the customer journeys across customer touch points, whether it's order to cash value chain or a service to cash value chain. You want to develop customer experiences which are delightful and basically exceed their expectations. And you can think of customers like Amazon, or sorry, manufacturers like Amazon or Apple, whom people like to, they love to go to place an order on Amazon or basically browse sites in Amazon or Apple. You also want to make sure that customers are remembered across their journey. Basically, make it easy to use. So whether you're using a tablet or using an iPhone or an Android device or using a laptop, the journey should be seamless. And Amazon again has done a wonderful job there. Personalizing customer experience, so they should see what they are looking for. That definitely is another thing which is critical, and basically listening to your customers as well. So Starbucks, for example, has a site where they listen to the customers, where you can provide feedback, and they use that feedback to obviously resolve questions and issues, but they also use that to develop new products and services. Another key objective, which I think is critical for a digital transformation, is launch of new products and services which are innovative and which are new, which can generate new revenue streams. So, you can take examples of new services, could be subscription-based services. So, for example, in the heavy equipment space, instead of leasing mining machines or forklifts, etc., or even renting them, you can basically build them based on the usage, which means how much earth they have moved in an hour. So the machine is lying with no usage, you're not going to invoice the customer. If the machine is being used, then you want to basically invoice the customer. Similarly, other things could be like, you have the machines could be connected with using IoT technology, and basically you could use predictive maintenance to reduce your cost of maintenance, as well as find ways to generate revenue using IoT technology. And the third one, which I think is critical, is transform your team's business processes as well as business operations to improve productivity. And then how do you increase customer lifetime value? And customer lifetime value is defined as how much revenue do you generate from the customer across the period of time, how long they are a customer for you. So you can use new tools like RPA, robotic process automation, or AI or ML to improve business processes and automate them. So those are the three business objectives I would say are critical for a digital transformation. And then what are the components of digital transformation? Can you go to the next slide? So some of the key components are business transformation, you have enterprise architecture, you have change management, you have value realization, etc. The key component is you should have a vision. What is the vision for a digital transformation initiative? And this vision should come from the top executives. They should promote a culture by which it enables the digital transformation initiatives, as well as there should be a definition of a digital transformation strategy. So you need to make sure that a workshop, etc., is held with the top executives, and based on their feedback, digital transformation strategy should be defined. Now, once the strategy is defined, then you want to look at other components which are defined here, like business process transformation. So you should reimagine the current business processes, leveraging the new technology, as I mentioned earlier, like AI, ML, IoT, etc. And to support these business processes, you need to have enterprise architecture of systems which can support these new business processes. So, soft systems like SAP S/4HANA or commerce system like Sana Commerce can be leveraged here to support the reimagined business processes. Change management is critical. So communication of the digital strategy should be done across the board, internal to the customer, as well as to external stakeholders, and everybody should be aware. It is not a digital transformation strategy just for sales or marketing. It is across the board, whether it's logistics, supply chain, finance, etc. And last thing which I would want to touch upon is value realization. So whether you have a order to cash value chain or a service to cash value chain, you need to make sure there is value generated from these value chains. And for example, in order to cash value chain, you could use Sana Commerce as a value chain, in which the entire customer journey, starting from browsing a catalog to adding products to a shopping cart, adding additional products, as well as checkout and ordering process, could be supported by a solution like Sana Commerce. And now that brings me to handing it over to Don, who will take you through what is Sana Commerce. Sorry. So. Go ahead.
That will be me.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Stefan. I can't see the presentation at the moment. Is that correct? Just to verify, can you see the presentation?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Can the organizers please put the presentation on?
Stephen, you are a presenter right now. You have access.
But you can't see the presentation.
No, I can't see the presentation indeed. Can you activate it, please? Thanks. Yeah, I see something now.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, thank you so much. All right, to start off, Sana is an integrated e-commerce solution and not an interface solution. So there's only one source of truth, which is the ERP. You do not have to rebuild specifics such as pricing in the e-commerce platform to reflect your ERP, and you do not have to maintain two different systems. So that's why some even call Sana lazy, because it acts as a natural extension of your ERP. Main takeaway of this slide is that Sana is an integrated e-commerce solution where you install an add-on within your ERP to make a live connection between your web store and ERP data. Next one. So Sana communicates mainly with sales and distribution, material management, and financial accounting modules. And for the financial accounting module, this module deals with managing financial transactions within enterprises. So we extract the invoices from this module to be able to show these in your web store. And then, for example, when a customer pays the invoice via your web store, the posting document will be created with manual payment journal creation. But as a customer, you can choose yourself how you would like to process this by configuring your web store. For material management, the MM module, as the term suggests, manages materials required, processed, produced in enterprises. So material master data like, for example, material number, title, and description of your product are stored there, which we will show in the web store. And of course, we extract the stock volumes from one or more storage locations in this module. Within the sales and distribution module, users can see everything from the moment an order is placed until it is delivered, with information such as sales orders, pricing, packing, shipping, and so on. So within sales and distribution, all transactions are managed. So we extract the customer data, as for example, who is the ship to, bill to, and sold to party. And we extract customer specific pricing and the status of the order from this module, all to show in your front end, your web store. So on the right side, we have the web store with its belonging CMS, which is connected to the Sana framework. And the communication with SAP is done via the HTTPS protocol with XML requests. In most of the cases, our first entry point to the customer environment is done via the SAP Web Dispatcher. And the SAP Web Dispatcher is the entry point for the public internet and approves the connections and balances the workload. It is also possible to connect directly to the Internet Communication Manager, also called the ICM. So the ICM ensures that communication between the SAP system and the outside world works properly. And in its role as a server, the ICM can process requests from the web dispatcher or directly from the internet, and then calls the relevant local task handler for the needed information. So the main difference between them is that the web dispatcher performs load balancing and also passes requests to the ICM on the connected application servers rather than to work processes. So when a customer has multiple applications running, for example, next to the ERP, also customer relationship management and supplier relationship management, there is in most cases a web dispatcher installed. And in our experience, 80% of the enterprise customers make use of a web dispatcher because they run multiple applications. The task handler does all the requests to the necessary modules and databases. And in our case, it will make sure our request arrives at the Sana add-on, which is installed in the ERP. Then the Sana add-on makes sure the request is translated to an ABAP request, the language of SAP, making sure we receive the correct information from the ERP, which will be sent back to Sana, to the core, to the framework, and eventually to the front end to show to your customers. So based on our experience from many projects, we would like to share some best practices for implementing a third-party e-commerce solution like Sana. And to connect Sana to SAP ECC or S/4HANA, we advise to arrange an indirect access license or digital access license. SAP requires this license from their customers who access the SAP system indirectly via a third-party application, so in our case, Sana. And if you do not arrange the indirect access license, this can cause problems. So we always advise customers to talk to SAP upfront and make sure this is handled. So quite often users are confused about the type of license they need to integrate their SAP system with Sana. And to help SAP customers understand which type of license they need to investigate with third-party applications, SAP published the Indirect Access Guide, and which is there for ERP users. And in this document, SAP describes different types of access and common indirect access scenarios and respective required SAP licenses. The type of license depends on your goal with Sana or a third-party application. But for Sana, it's most likely when you use Sana as a web store for orders to take in, you need at least a sales and service order processing engine license. For additional information about these licenses, we always advise customers to reach out to their own SAP account executive. And based on our experience, some advice and best practices when speaking with SAP about indirect access license. Yeah, it's really important how you bring the message to SAP. So, for example, if SAP feels that there is still a chance to sell their own e-commerce solution to you, they will make it definitely harder and charge higher fees to implement other vendors. Our advice is always to have a message that you have already chosen an e-commerce platform, and you need to know anything related to indirect access. So, yeah, you should also always try to negotiate the conditions. So when you do, please involve your best negotiator or procurement officers. And one last thing, the situation we see with some of our customers, some customers pay nothing for this license. They are just big enough to ensure that they don't have to pay. It could be a good negotiation or telling SAP that you will switch ERP if you are forced by them to pay for this indirect license fee. Some customers negotiate an acceptable fee level, so always negotiate it. And some customers negotiate to exchange Sana for other in the future projects, for example, CRM. So always negotiate with SAP about this. Now, Don will share some of his experiences.
Thanks, Stefan. That was great. We wanted to share, again, some additional implementation best practices in regards to sort of what happens post-sale and pre-live. That's a part of these projects that are always very concerning and or interesting to our potential customers and customers as they are onboarding. Sana has well over 1,600 web stores implemented throughout the globe. So we have learned some very, very good best practices, and we have implemented some different phases in regards to how we approach that post-sale all the way through to your project going live and running, and you're deploying this out to your customer base, this type of a solution. So the first phase obviously is on the sales side of things. That is where you're working with myself or one of my other team members in regards to solution overviews and going through any kind of standard or customized requirements that you may have for the web store, or any specific business requirements that you may have that the web store needs to adhere to. That is sort of the fun part of the project, and obviously one of the types of the parts of the projects that we are trying to flush out all of the requirements to make sure that what we sell you and what you purchase and what we build are all the same type of a product, or all the same product. Once that phase is over with, then you're in the implementation project phase, and there are 4 or 5 different phases inside of that part of the implementation that we wanted to cover. The implementation phase, or the initiation phase, excuse me, that is where we have done an internal handoff from sales over to our project management team, and that is really just getting to know each other on the project management side of the project, aligning the way of working. Phase 2 is when we actually set up the standard Sana web store and connect it to your ERP. And what that does is very, very early on in the project, that allows you to start testing some of your baseline primary business processes of what the web store is going to be accomplishing for you. Moving over to stage 3, that is when any type of a specific requirement that may not be a standard requirement that our solution is offering, but is more of a customer specific functionality, or maybe a customization, that is when the setup and the work is being provided on that part of the solution. So phase 1 and 2 are all kind of core product and core functionality. Phase 3 is when we start to dive into any specific requirements or specific customizations that are not in scope for the main part of the solution functionality wise. Development is handed over in phase 4. And after that, once you're tested and you've accepted all of the features and everything is being tested and worked through, not only standard functionality, but also customizations, any new features that may have come up throughout the project, we're going to be set and ready and should be ready to go live at that point. So it starts off with handoff all the way through to testing, all the way through to going live, and starting to deploy this out to your customer base once it's ready to go. Just on that side of it as well, we do have a post-implementation team, a support team. We call them our customer success managers. You will have an assigned customer success manager that will be with you through the life of your organization with Sana, and they're there for any kind of ticketing, upgrades, updates, any type of additional support that you may need once the site is up and running and live and taking orders and being active for your customer base. Ajay, do you mind sending me over the controls, and I'll go ahead and turn my screen on and we'll jump right into the demo. All right, everybody should be seeing a Maddox website here on the screen. So what I want to cover is just a few foundational pieces first before we go ahead and get started. One is the different user experiences that our platform provides. We offer our platform to be B2C oriented, meaning that it's open to the retail public. So if you have products that you sell out to anybody, our platform is equipped and handled right out of the box to be able to service B2C clients. Our platform is also built to be B2B, meaning if you sold through, say, distributors or dealers, or if you had customer specific types settings inside of SAP where you had specific pricing for customers, maybe specific terms, all of that, our platform is built to be B2B as well, and it's all built to be one main solution right out of the box. And the third user that's also able to use our solution is sales agents. Sales agents could mean a number of different things for your specific organization. Sales agents could be sales reps that are out in the field. Sales agents could be customer service reps that are inside of your office, account managers that are dealing with current customers, or even net new reps that are out trying to find new clients for you. All of those sort of fall under the umbrella of sales agents, and our solution is built to be B2B, B2C, and sales agent facing all in one. And then we just deploy the product based on our customer specific requirements and based on how you are wanting to utilize the platform and utilize the solution. Sales reps and B2B customers have specific logins. Obviously, if it's a B2B user, the general retail public could come in, browse and shop and buy products on the web store, just like a standard e-commerce platform would. Getting into some of the specific functionality, again, searching, browsing, you can have as many products on here as you need. You can have as many categories as you need. But if you look at the actual data that's powering the web store, a lot of the data is being powered directly from SAP. So things like items, categories, brands, attributes, search tools, things like that. That's all functionality that we're actually pulling out of SAP and displaying on the web. Now, the benefit of that, of having this integrated platform, is that it allows SAP to remain your main system of record for your organization. Stefan made a comment earlier about sometimes we've been described as being lazy because we are so directly connected to the ERP system. That's a really good way to kind of think about it, because we are utilizing all of that business logic and data that's inside of SAP and using it to power the web store. Also, there's an ongoing integration going on. So as you add, modify, and or delete data inside of the ERP system, our integration tool is updating the web store real time. So you don't have to go back and change your pricing on the web store. You don't have to go back and update your items. You don't have to go back and make sure that your inventory levels are plotting correctly. All of that is all real time. It's all directly connected, and is really keeping the total cost of ownership and the dual management of data at a very, very low point. And that's one of our main value adds and one of our main points, excuse me, in the market. Getting into the B2B space just a little bit, I want to touch on that part. Again, your B2B customers are assigned username and passwords to the web store. And again, this can be deployed to both of your audiences or users, or one or the other, just depending upon how you're wanting to deploy the web store. That username and password is tied to their SAP account, and that's pulling over all of the customer-specific experience data that we need to have a high customer experience on the web store for your B2B customers. So things like customer-specific pricing. If you notice, we have stock availability turned on for B2B customers. Customer bill to ship to addresses, all of their pricing, all of their history and transaction history, all of that is being loaded at that login, and is now creating the ability for your B2B customers to have a highly personalized experience on the web store. We also understand as well that B2B buyers tend to use and browse and shop a little bit differently on a web store than a B2C user would, right? Typically, B2C users are searching, browsing, looking at images, checking out categories, maybe comparing products, although those are all standard functionality hooks that we have inside of our platform. But the B2B buyer tends to buy a little bit differently. One tool that we have presented for B2B buyers is what are called order templates. An order template is sort of like a saved shopping cart or a saved shopping list that your B2B buyers can set up to where if they only order products on a certain cadence, let's say they only buy this HPMV once a month or once a quarter or whatever their list of items is, they can come in here and save these specific orders as templates. So if this is my Monday order, and I'm going to go ahead and save that and come back to it later, your B2B buyers, instead of searching and browsing for this HPMV, they can go right into their account. They can pull off all of their order templates, and they can actually order off of a saved list. That's way more on the B2B side of ordering habits that we have seen rather than the B2C market, right? Where the B2C, again, is typically searching and browsing, where B2B buyers typically are ordering off of lists or repeating from a previous sales order and things like that. So I want to walk you through kind of the order process and the checkout process here very quickly. Again, the website, as I'm still logged in, knows exactly who I am, knows my bill to ship to address information because that's coming directly out of SAP. I can come through and proceed with my ordering. I can edit that order if I need to. I can select from my multiple bill to or ship to addresses if I have it, or I can even drop ship to an end user if that's what I'm doing my ordering for. I can select my specific delivery method. I can enter a purchase order, pay with a credit card. All of those options are all made available for your B2B customers. Some come in here and select my delivery date and go ahead and place this order. This order is now going directly into SAP that everybody is communicated with in regards to email confirmations, meaning me, the user, you, the owner. We can even copy your sales reps if your sales reps need to be notified that orders are being placed on the web store. And those orders are going directly into SAP. Now, there's some things that we can do on the order entry side of things. We can place it in as a new order. We can place it on a hold status to allow your team to review it. But those orders are now being, instead of manually keyed in, those orders are now coming directly from the web store and directly into SAP, saving your team massive amounts of time. I know that this order is in because it's already back out with an SAP order number, and all of the details are in here just as if this was a phone, faxed, or email order hand keyed in by your customer service agents. Also on the My Account section, I want to make sure that we cover this as well. We have the My Account section, which is kind of an order and transaction history for your customers as well. This is web and non-web orders, meaning if I called yesterday and placed an order on the phone with one of my sales reps versus a website placed order, me as the user of the web store can view all historical data. I can see all the statuses of my orders. I can drill into the details of my orders. I can reorder from a previous sales order. As long as it's not been invoiced I can edit it actually. So if I came in here and said, ah, crap, I ordered this one, I ordered 1 unit, I meant to order 15, you can actually edit the order on the web and have it re-update back into SAP. I can also come in here and view all of my quotes. I can even convert a quote to an order on the web store as well. So if this was, let's say, manually keyed in from a sales rep, it was pushed back out to the portal for the customer. I, as the customer, can come in here and view it. And if I'm approving it, I can go ahead and convert it to an order right here on the web. I can view all my open invoices with aging. I can select multiple invoices and even make payments on an open invoice. I can review my returns, my credits, my shipments, again, my order templates. So this My Account section, the account dashboard, a couple things on this is we're seeing a massive amount of improvement in customer service and improvement in kind of what I call customer service automation, where you're allowing your customers to really start to self-service their own account, viewing their invoices, paying their invoices, viewing orders, placing quotes and converting quotes to orders. That's a customer service automation that we have seen in our customers be a very, very big lift inside of their organization to eliminate some of this manual work with your customers and allowing them to automate how they're interacting with you. Another point that I want to make on this part of it as well is that this is also a standalone product. We, about a year and a half ago or so, made this into its own product. So we have B2B and B2C e-commerce. All of that includes the My Account or the customer portal section. About a year and a half ago, we productized the customer portal section and made it its own standalone product. A couple benefits of that is it's a much quicker implementation time, much lower cost of entry point, but it's really a great way to kind of ease your organization into e-commerce. We're seeing a lot of that where maybe they're not deploying the entire e-commerce platform for phase 1, but they're saying, hey, listen, we need to get customers used to interacting with us online. We're going to allow them to view their customer portal first and then start to expand into e-commerce later. So that's a really good point, and I really wanted to make sure that we touched on that today. The third user that we talked about was sales reps. So again, your sales agents also have access into the web store. They are actually able to come in and represent their customers. So I'm Don Martin, the sales rep, and now I have logged in as a sales rep, and I can come in here and work on behalf of one of my customers. So here's one of my customers, and now I am on the web store as a rep, impersonating or interacting on the web store as a customer, and this will give your reps tools out in the field or even internally to be able to come in and place orders on behalf of customers. They can view their account. They can hop out and hop back in as another customer, and gives your sales team, again, either customer service reps or sales reps, a little bit more automation on how they're interacting with your customers as well. The last point is our Sana admin panel, which is the control panel for the web store. You as the owner are given access to the admin panel as well to be able to control any business logic or additional web shop rules that are outside of SAP, things like turning pricing on and off by user or changing credit card processors or PSPs, things like that. Gives you some additional controls, web content pages, images, logos, color schemes, gives you the ability to manage the platform yourself as well. Ajay, do you mind switching back over to the presentation, the PowerPoint, and we'll run through some future trends that we're seeing in the e-commerce space as well. And if you want to give me presenter controls on that, I'll go ahead and flip through that. So perfect, thank you. So a couple things that we just want to touch on, and as I interact both with partners and with customers in the SAP markets, everybody always sort of wants to know what are the future trends, or what are we as an organization on an e-commerce side of things seeing as some future functionality or some future benefits for our organization. So we're going to touch on a couple today. There's obviously a lot, but we're going to go ahead and touch on a few main ones for today's sake. Let me see if I can go ahead and control this here. And we'll flip over to the first one, which is AI-driven personalization. Jay, I don't think it's letting me flip screens. I want to just flip over to the first one. Yep, that's perfect. Thank you. And flip over one more again real quick, if you don't mind. Thank you. Perfect. So It's more often viewed as a critical tool in the B2C arsenal, but the Sapio 2019 research into the B2B buying process shows that personalization has grown and really become a top of mind for a lot of B2B customers. So even though we're seeing it be predominantly a B2C functionality, B2B customers are moving drastically towards more personalization. E-commerce functionalities such as predictive ordering, personalization, and artificial intelligence to assist in buying decisions are already present as a top 5 priority for between 18 and 20% of B2B customers. In addition, 19%, so almost 1 out of 5, of B2B buyers are being persuaded to select a vendor based on their ability to offer a personalized online buying experience. So we're seeing that this personalization, we touched on it briefly on the demo, of having that personalization is really what is persuading a lot of customers to even being able to select their vendors. Next two, Ajay. Next one would be voice commerce. Voice commerce, as the adoption of voice assistants and consequently voice commerce surging into the B2C space, we're seeing a demand for B2B in the B2B space for voice commerce as well. In 2019, 14% of B2B customers already wanted to see voice ordering in their online B2B buying experience. Compared to B2C, those B2B tend to be more complex, but also more repetitive. We see a lot more repetition and repeat ordering on the B2B market. This provides both challenges and opportunities, obviously, for B2B voice commerce. On one hand, buyers are often required detailed images and descriptions to explore new products and make their correct selection. On the other, voice commerce lends itself very well to repetitive ordering, where visual aids and descriptions are really not needed at that point. It also allows repeat customers to quickly and easily place orders hands-free, so they can get on their merry way and do their other business tasks as they're doing it currently. Next two, Ajay, and that should wrap it up, and I'll be able to flip it back over to Ashish to wrap up for us. But the third one, and this is a big one, and we see this a lot, and Sana is positioning itself in this space as well, but is what are called progressive web apps. Unlike mobile apps, which are built specifically for Android and iOS devices, progressive web apps are delivered through the web and are designed to work across all mobile devices and operating systems. The benefit is for both companies who only need to create and maintain a single generic app, and for customers who no longer need to download an app or install it from the app stores. Progressive web apps are also offering better performance as well as offline capabilities. Some of the first steps towards progressive web apps are already being felt, and support for these apps coming through from Apple only last year. In 2020, we will definitely see e-commerce software developers across the board, and again, Sana is one of them, building the foundations for progressive web apps by delivering a single page application. And this is already allowing e-commerce websites to only load the information that's really needed for the user rather than the entire pages from a server. So those are some really exciting trends that are coming. Again, Sana is positioning itself in all of those trends to be ahead or above the curve as well. So with that, I'll flip it back over to Ashish to wrap up with a few more slides and take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Great presentation, great demo on Maddox. So what I'm going to talk about is the lessons learned which we have seen in e-commerce implementations. So we have done implementations in SAP space, we've done implementation on Sana Commerce, we've done implementation on other platforms like Magento and Shopify integrate with SAP. So some of the key lessons learned, I've grouped them into different buckets. The first one is selecting an implementation partner. So you want an implementation partner who has experience on both SAP side as well as commerce side. The key thing here is that there are e-commerce boutique companies who just focus on e-commerce and then forget the SAP side of things, and then they're just responsible for commerce. And that is where you end up getting into trouble, because integration of SAP with their complex data models to e-commerce is quite complex. It's much simpler in the commerce side, whereas the SAP side has got quite a lot of complications. And then the end-to-end business process knowledge of searching a product, browsing a product catalog to checkout, to shopping cart to checkout, to ordering process, and then the follow-on ordering processes of approval and shipping and tracking number and all that good stuff, invoicing. payment to the invoice. It would be good if the SI is knowledgeable about that. And the SI should really own the complete solution from the end-to-end perspective. Moving on to the next slide. So project team, again, digital transformation or e-commerce is not really owned by marketing as what some people perceive, or a single department. You need to have different departments involved in this. So departments like legal to validate the content, finance for payments and invoices to be displayed. You want to make sure there is a user experience team for the the user interface part of it. You want customer support and order administrators for sales orders and service ticketing, logistics for shipping and tracking number, etc. You also want the material management and the pricing team to make sure the materials are correctly represented and pricing information is accurate. So if you can see that it is not just a marketing or a order admin project. Business involvement is key. You need to make sure that all these departments are continuously involved in the project, not just in the design, but even during development and testing and making sure the user interface approval, etc. is they're involved in that one. Next slide. Project management and methodology. So again, you would have seen that SAP projects are typically waterfall. These days, S4HANA projects are more Accrete, which is really a mix of waterfall and agile. And that's what we're going to recommend, that do a project, e-commerce project, in which the design of the end-to-end business processes is done upfront, which probably is more waterfall, and then the development and testing can be done using an agile method. Care should be taken that the development of SAP objects are in sync with the e-commerce objects, because the sprint alignment is key, because typically SAP objects take a longer time than a commerce object. And lastly, there should be one single master project plan which encompasses all e-commerce tasks and activities, as well as SAP tasks and activities, as well as you have to make sure that user interface approvals and review cycles, training cycles, training logistics, interface integration testing, user acceptance testing, all the change management, all that stuff is included in the project plan. Next slide. Product catalog is probably one of the most complex part of e-commerce implementation, because company can have product catalog information in different places. For example, we did a project at Benjamin Moore where the product information was in a different website, different Excel. It was in product catalog, paper, etc. So gathering all that information, which includes products, product attributes, definition of attributes, product modeling, digital assets like text, images, PDF, etc. All that stuff is a challenging task, and putting all that together to be loaded into an e-commerce system takes time and effort. So the recommendation is to use a product champion who can basically manage a mini project by itself and make sure the relevant team members or department which are involved in that basically participate in that and make sure he or she gets the product catalogs completed in time. Tools like Akamai are pretty useful for digital assets. You can store it in SharePoint, etc. But Akamai is a pretty good tool. Customer and pricing. So as I mentioned earlier, that SAP has customers, different types of customers. Like you have the sold to party, which is a customer, but you have ship to parties, you have bill to parties, you have payers, and all of them have to be represented in a commerce system. You can also have a distributor hierarchy or a dealer hierarchy, and you could have different users who can have access to multiple accounts as well. So switching of accounts, etc. So that is quite complex. So the modeling has to be done correctly in e-commerce, and then integration of that with SAP is also a key thing. And then customer registration and activation processes also need to be clearly defined. In terms of pricing is quite complex typically. If it is quite complex, then you should use SAP's pricing instead of rebuilding it in e-commerce. While if it's a more simplistic pricing, like B2C is probably more simplistic, you can probably use, you can have e-commerce pricing in that case. A similar thing is for freight rules as well. Complex freight rules, you should do it in SAP, and simple ones, you can do it in e-commerce. Next slide. UI design and mockup, should be done. You need to make sure that the business team is established for review and approval, and there needs to be a consensus building process by which approvals don't take more than 2 cycles, because the review and approval can keep on going forever. Somebody likes red, somebody likes green, somebody likes on the left, somebody likes on the right, etc., etc. So we need to make sure that we have not more than 2 review and approval cycles. Next. Data load, you need to define a data load strategy so that the data load for all the product attributes, images, attachments, customers, users, etc. is done properly, and is probably the data needs to be extracted from wherever and put it in a template, and the template needs to be loaded. And the template needs to be defined up front so that the data can be populated in that. This will smoothen the data load process. Next. Testing, again, testing in SAP world is done using tools like HPALM, whereas testing in e-commerce is done to other tools which are different. So you really have to test the end-to-end process and record the results. Ideally in one testing tool, so you could use a tool like Worksoft, which can work across platforms, which means SAP and e-commerce. Or if you're not willing to buy Worksoft or some tool similar to that, you still need to define a process of what is the testing method to be followed, and what part of the process will be in tool A, what part of the process will be in tool B, and then how do you reconcile, because the testing should be really for an end-to-end process, starting from browsing a catalog to shipping and invoicing, etc. And then again, testing across platform, across devices, Android, iOS, you name it, there are a plethora of devices and plethora of browsers. It needs to be done so that the application should work across all platforms. Next. Integration with SAP is quite challenging, as I already mentioned. If you have tools like POPI already, you should leverage that. The recommended tool is, excuse me, SAP Cloud Platform Integration, or you can use web services as well. So Sana Commerce uses web services for integration. You could use other third-party middleware as well, but if you are integrating with SAP, either web service or an SAP product is always better. And then even for non-SAP products, like you have single sign-on, you have credit card, you could have Paymetric or PaySource, you have freight for shipping with FedEx and UPS for inventory and taxes, say bricks systems or Taxware or Vortex systems. You need to make sure there is design time planned in the project plan, and there is definitely a lot of development and testing time planned for the same in the project. Next slide. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. We are now going to begin answering the questions. We are already close to end of this session, so we have a question. Why should we choose Sana Commerce in place of SAP Commerce Cloud? So Don, would you like to take this question?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think there are a couple glaringly differences between the two platforms. One would be time to market and time for implementation. That's one of them. We have seen some very successful SAP projects come in and out in a very good and short, timely manner with Sana, whereas the SAP Cloud Commerce projects typically are much longer. I think I've even heard horror stories of 2+ years of a Sana or an SAP Commerce project going. So I would say that would definitely be one of them. And obviously we reviewed the implementation phases and kind of why we have our project phases set up in a specific way is for efficiency and timing of it. So that would be one. And the second one would definitely be cost. We are significantly less of an annual subscription investment comparatively to the SAP Commerce product. Good question, though.
Thanks, Don. So, Ashish, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, I mean, the total cost of ownership for Sana Commerce is going to be much lower than SAP Cloud. And obviously, SAP Cloud is quite complicated from an integration standpoint, whereas Sana Commerce is pre-integrated. Although SAP would sell the solution as integrated solution, but since they acquired Hybris Commerce, it's not easy to integrate, and it does take time to integrate. And it's typically integration is done through middleware using POPI or Cloud Platform integration.
Thanks, Ashish. There we have one more question. I believe this is again a kind of a comparison. So what will be the pricing difference if someone is going for Sana Commerce in compared to Sana Commerce Cloud, SAP Commerce Cloud? How much will be the cost reduction they can expect?
So if a customer is on SAP Commerce Cloud and going to Sana, what would be the price reduction?
Right.
That might be a question. I mean, even just percentage-wise, I'm not really sure. Ashish, do you have any gauge on kind of the percent discount or the percent less of what our solution would be running versus SAP?
It is probably going to be a large. I think SAP charges based on transaction volumes or revenue dollars. And their prices, as far as you know, especially in the mid-market, is quite expensive since the revenue amount could be high. So that was one thing. And Sana charges for a fixed price typically. It's not based on revenue volume. So that would be a key difference. The other key difference would be the timeline of SAP projects. SAP Cloud projects, typically, in my opinion, what we have seen takes about at least 10 months to a year, or maybe longer. But again, a mid-sized company, probably 10 months to a year is more realistic. And then Sana Commerce project, probably around 6 months, up to 6 to 7 months. So you can see based on the timeline itself, you can see that the Sana Commerce will be much cheaper.
Sure, thanks. So with this, we are close to end of today's session. Thank you, Ashish, Don, and Stefan, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. You will be receive a follow-up email with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. On behalf of Accrete, Sana Commerce, and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.